Early one morning we went to Torquay. We wanted a drink, so we got there early. And who should be waiting as we got off the bus? Some brave Yorkshire bastards throwing boulders at us. It took us a minute to counter-attack. We picked up the boulders and threw them right back. And as we went over to give them some stick, well, none of us knew they could run quite so quick. They ran round me.
After a soul-destroying fall from grace, Stockport County are rising up again.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Scarf Bagara War, Season 10, Episode 20. We're rattling through these seasons and rattling through these episodes now. This is your weekly fan opinion, fact, chat, county news. Is that enough? Is that accurate? Is that accurate?
I think you've pretty much covered it all there.
Yeah, I think so. We're the podcast that carries on throughout the close season, aren't we? No other podcast does that, and I don't see why. But it's not like we've got nothing to talk about, is it? You know.
I know. Yeah. Well, realistically, how are we going to drag this out for an hour today? Have we got anything to talk about? We've
got loads to talk about, and we've got a stellar guest that will help us drag it out. He's going to help us.
Did you see his face in the background?
I love it. Cheers to everybody that's joined us online live. Do get involved. Get us some questions in and all that good stuff. And we'll have a chat. On the agenda tonight, we're going to talk about the Stotty interview, which is going to be a bulk of tonight. And we're going to talk about briefly, we're going to do getting the reses first. And something that happened this week, we think, that can definitely get in the reses. Anyway, Waggy, how are you, mate? Are you all right?
I'm all good, mate. All good.
How's Liverpool? Is it all right?
It's all right, mate. It's all right.
It sounds.
It sounds.
Nice one.
Did you see have you seen the Paddy Power advert with all the Spurs players, ex-Spurs players, pretending to be Manx? Have you not seen it? Oh, it's brilliant. So you got Glenn Hoddle going through his Smiths, Stone Roses, etc.
I think I might have. Have they rolled it out again? Is that an old one?
No, it's only just come out because Arsenal are going for the title, aren't they? So now they're all saying that the City fans, joking that the City fans, because they don't want Arsenal to win the league. But yeah, it's a very good one. Darren Anderton on at the end. So I think Teddy Sheringham and I think it was I can't remember the third guy who does it, but then you got Darren Anderton at the end, and basically they go, so who do you want to win the league? And he goes, well, obviously I want City to win the league. And he goes, oh, I expect it because you're a Manchester City fan. You prefer Corrie to EastEnders and etc. And he goes, no, basically it's because Arsenal are fucking shit. It's because I fucking hate them. Very good.
Nice one. Good stuff. If you are watching on Facebook or Twitter, by the way, do get involved as well. We're not just on YouTube. So, right, without further ado, let's get our guest out. It's only the former media man from County. It's Phil Brennan.
Oh, no! You're joking!
Are we joking about getting him out? Or
no,
that
not joking.
I can't believe you've used my best mate to introduce me like that. You're joking.
We don't do this on purpose. We don't do this by accident, Phil. We don't do it by accident.
Is stellar another word for opinionated?
I think. Well, I had it down as like platinum. One of the best.
Platinum opinionated. Yeah, that. My mic's muted apparently.
Yeah, no, I pressed the wrong button. I'm trying to turn your mic up. You leave
You're
that to
trying
me.
to shut me up already. I've just got it.
I've not said anything yet.
Where's the card? Yellow card. I've only got a white one.
Right, we're going to kick stuff off. We're going to kick stuff off with getting the reses right away because there's something that happened this week that can definitely get in the reses. So we'll do that, and I think we're all agreeing on it for this single thing that's going to get in the reses, and then we'll talk about the Stotty interview and go through some of those bits in a bit.
Reses, get in the reses, get in the reses.
I'm not having that.
Get in the reses.
Get in reses.
And I think we can all agree it's the Man City exhibition that happened at Edgeley Park, no less, this week. Who wants to go first? Let's not waste too much time on it. 5-10 minutes, maybe. Go on. Have a go.
For me, no reason given will ever convince me that it's right to do it. You know, we're in a town that's surrounded. Well, we've got thousands of the buggers in our town, the majority of which don't even go to the match. And yeah, we're catering for them by putting, oh, come and look at your lovely trophies just down the road. If they want to do it, travel to the ground that you profess to support. It's just, I mean, I'm old, right? So I understand. For people my era, it's a real kick in the teeth because, you know, I've got loads of mates that are City fans and they all understand that I don't want them in my ground. By all means, come and watch the football. Don't wear your shirt. And we'll come to that. Stotty's actually covered that.
Yeah.
But listen, most of the people in my age that are City fans, they understand that we are, of my era, we're angry. And I've seen a bit on socials where there's people kicking off with each other. And there's majority of newer fans, and I'm not having a go at the newer fans because we need them. They're the ones who are saying, oh, it's all right, it doesn't matter. But mixed in there's a few that ought to know bloody better. You know, they're suddenly going, oh, it don't matter. Of course it matters. Shouldn't be done. You know, United wouldn't have held it. I know City wouldn't have done it for United because United don't win anything. But United wouldn't have had that in their ground. So why should we? That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I did like your first sentence. Actually, nothing that will ever be said will convince you that it was right, and I'm with that. We have got a few comments coming in. Dave Philbin, who I would put in the category of should know better, because I know Dave he's a nice lad. He's the most positive county fan in the fan base, apparently. Mark Stott says, and he says, "Money in the coffers. Who cares? I can't. Yeah. No, I care."
He's saying that to wind me up because I'm always winding him up. Cheers, Dave. Well done. You've won. No, Dave, you ought to know better. And there is no explanation that will justify it. Coffers, I don't care. Don't do it.
It's almost like how much are we for sale? You know what? It's like what if you've got a price, you'll let it happen. I draw the line at that. Quick comment though, while we're here, Clive Parkin always comments. He's on the Mansfield Matters podcast. Always dead good when he comes on our show, and he says, "Many congratulations on winning the league, lads. Looking forward to next season and loads of new clubs to compete with." Agree with that. Cheers, Clive.
Yeah, and Clive's club wouldn't let Notts County do it, would they?
No, that is true. That is
so
true.
There you go. So that's
What do you think, Waggy? What's your take on it?
I'm of the same ilk. As you say, we've not got the rivalry that we used to have with City anymore because of where they've gotten to. But as you say, fans of our age, it's ingrained in us the hate that we had, but going back to like they say the 80s and 90s and stuff that we had. So it's inexcusable that ever happened, and for them to be flaunting it in our face. You know, fair enough. I'd probably say as a club they don't see us the same way that we see them. I think that's possibly the thing. But as you say, no, it shouldn't have happened. Simple as. I'm only just finding out about it because I've been off social media for the last couple of weeks. So
I'm not really about the rivalry because that doesn't exist. It's about the fact that a fair proportion of their season ticket holders have got SK postcodes, and then there's another few thousand that just grew up supporting City because they didn't like United, and that's a fact. There's lots of people in Bredbury, and they do go to the games, I'll give them that. Yeah. But there's lots of people in Bredbury in the late 30s who support City because they hate United. And I've had this conversation in the pub, and they're like, well, when you were growing up and you were a young teenager and you started supporting City, we were in a higher division. Your local team were in a higher division. Why didn't you support Stockport? Well, because I like winding up the United fans at school. And I'm not saying that's, but they've stuck with them. Give them that. They've stuck with them. But then they have to, don't they? Because they can't lose face in Bredbury with their red mates. And there's people like that who don't go to the games, who then have kids, and their kids become City fans. And it's like, well, you live in a town where there's a very good traditional football team that could grow even better and more, go higher, and let your kids come to and I'm very glad to see that there are. We're doing that thing again like we did in the 80s. We're getting a very, very young fan base, and that's a brilliant thing to do. Because a lot of these kids that are through now, they're the kids of the 80s.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. I just don't want to see them wearing their shirts in our ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So final word on this then. I think it goes to Phil Lloyd. I think we can all agree on this as well. Just having an exhibition for one club at the ground of another, irrespective of who they are, is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think
well said.
that is a good.
So it's a Phil, isn't he? He's a Phil. He's got.
He's a Phil. Yeah.
You didn't see me typing that, did you?
Well, that's the kind of segues us nicely onto the interview with Stott. So, I mean, let's cover that element first. So, he did say about in the sustainability section of his interview about the younger fans coming to the club, and he said he's happy to bring in the new fans growing up in the borough and make them county fans and get them when they're younger. That's what he wants to do. They might have a City shirt, they might have a United shirt, but when they're young, and I kind of agree with him on the age as well.
Even
12,
as he
13,
said,
14. That's when you get them.
Even as you're saying, if their parents are City United fans, get the kids to saying, I want to go to county, so they take them to county, and then as you say, it's part of their, as he said, part of the Saturday routine, and it's in it's put into their way of growing up, so they become county fans rather than City or United fan.
Where me and Schofield sit down at lower tier 1, there's always, they must be empty seats every week because they're sold and there's different people every week. And quite a few times we've seen families coming in and they've had a nipper who's had a United shirt on or a City shirt on, and the nippers actually pay more attention to the game than the parents.
Yeah.
They sit talking to each other or going off for a brew or whatever. And it's the nippers, and I don't care that they've got a shirt on. That doesn't matter to me. They're like 3 and 4 years old, but they're there and they're actually watching the game and they're taking it in and they're cheering at the right time and they're cheering the right colour. And that's most important. But, so, I like the fact that he's addressed that because he's obviously become aware of, since he's come in, he's made so many brilliant decisions. But he's also, under his watch, there's been a few mistakes. And the fact that he's addressed that without anybody asking him shows that, he's aware of the fact that there is this underlying, like Waggy just said, hate was probably a strong word, Waggy. You're not a nice person. But, there is that underlying. And if I see one more City tweet saying how much they saved us in the 70s, oh my God. And my mates do it to wind me up. But and they did used to come to the games, and we would go to their games, usually away games because it was fun. But for me, the fact that he's addressed it shows that he's aware that there has been an issue and he doesn't want it to continue. And I took more out of that sentence than we're probably going to discuss because I thought that was a really clever sentence.
Yeah. I think that is considering he's a person that openly admits that he's not on social media. He seemed to really pick up on a lot of gripes and things that piss county fans off, but also the good things that he's done that people have thought about as well. So he must have like Neymar. He must have somebody employed that just goes through tweets and stuff. Looking and saying, there you go. This is what you need.
Peter Snape wasn't on social media, but bloody hell, every morning I knew that he knew what was on there. I used to do a thing called Thought of the Day, which was always stupid, random stuff, and it was just for everybody. But you have to remember, we were poor, And we were just trying to keep a bit of morale up in the office. So I used to do a daft tweet at 6 o'clock every morning, really stupid, random stuff. And he just came in one day and he went, "You stay off Twitter." And I was like, "Sorry." I thought you didn't do social media. I know what you've been putting on. What the bloody hell are these thoughts of the day? Everyone in the office was like, But yeah, so he's got somebody. They've all got somebody watching, and sometimes it's for the right thing. I mean, what about the death threats? Let's not start with them. But yeah, so are you right, Waggy? There's somebody there watching it, and so there should be.
Yeah.
Because somebody should be able, there should be. I mean, I'm not going down the thought police route, but there should certainly be. And the bigger we grow, and the more, not random, but the more our database grows, the more our fan base is more spread out, you're going to get a lot of people. I mean, a lot of these young kids today, they just type it out thinking, and you think, and then somebody like me goes, "You can't say that," and then before you know it, there's a, So I agree that he has to have somebody looking at it.
No, he does. He does. He'd be stupid not to, wouldn't he? With the Stotty interview, then, where should we start? I mean, we've just covered the new fan. I mean, is that a good place to start? He mentioned season tickets and the fact that it's important for him not to price out what he said was the long-term fans. He doesn't want to end up as a Prem club with day trippers. He wants to keep the existing fans, get those old fans back that maybe left because of where we got to. He wants to get them back, and then he sort of bolted onto that, bringing new fans growing up in the borough. I think that's the right mix. I'm not going to. It's kind of hard not to agree with everything he said in this interview. So it might be a blowing smoke up the arse.
No, but again, like I said, under his watch there have been mistakes, and you've just read out a list of those mistakes. They all happened. They might not have been massive things, but they've all happened. And he's addressing that and saying, "Look, I mean, listen, that's one of the best chairman interviews I think I've ever seen, and not just at our club."
Yeah,
because I mean, listen, it's scripted. We know that he's seen all those things that while I've been here, we've done brilliantly. But I know we've peed off the older fans. I know that we've peed off this, and so to address it all in such a flowing conversation, that shows what a great businessman he is for the start. Because he didn't stop for breath. It was like this, and this. And John didn't get time to question it because it was all right. It was good. And it was what, like you just said, you don't want to be seen to be just agreeing with him. But I've looked at it the other way and I'm going, hang on a minute. I wanted to complain about that. I wanted to say something. Not me personally, but do you know what I mean? So the fact that he's gone, well, he's not actually said we made this mistake. He's just gone, we've done this and we're going to do that. And we don't want to do this and we want to bring them back. Perfect, mate. Perfect.
Yeah, I think
as good as.
And the season tickets, he said that they could have put them up 15%, could have put up 15, 20%, and you'd have still pretty much filled it because we're on an upward trajectory. We're playing decent football. Hopefully with the squad improvements that will be coming or should be coming before the end of the season, that he would have still been able to do it. But as you say, he didn't want to do that because he doesn't want to use the Premier League sort of set up, does he? He doesn't want us to be anything like them. We're a community club, and he gets that as well. And some of the other stuff that he said, which we'll probably get onto, these things around that he said, it was really, really good. I'm struggling to find anything that I was like I really disagreed with, or anything that was like I wasn't sat there like that. Yeah.
I suppose the immediate issue which wasn't addressed was what we're going to do about away fans next year. Now, I know there's loads of time before the season starts, but there's a lot of clubs in that division that will fill that railway end.
Yeah.
And that's the revenue we need. So are we going to sell season tickets for a railway end that most games we're not going to fill it with season ticket holders, are we? And we saw what happened at the end of the season where we couldn't get tickets for away games because teams were playing tit for tat. Now, it's not that a situation I'm worried about because most clubs in this league, unless Crew come up, if they come up, then we'll still take over their ground whether we got tickets or not. But a lot of clubs have got capacity that we probably won't fill.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're saying to clubs like Birmingham, you can only have those few seats under cover, then that's an issue that we need to address very early on, because I still think you've got to give so many covered seats, haven't you?
I think there's a minimum percentage in there of the capacity. Is it 10% you've got to give them, and a percentage of that 10% has to be covered. I don't know what.
Yeah. So the reason we decided to keep the railway end was because not many teams in League Two, there was a few, but not many, that would fill the railway end and some of the covered. And I don't think there's enough room for segregation to do both in the railway end, is there?
No,
I don't know. I was just about to suggest that. Could you not do that over a?
Well, I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't, because you could cover behind the goal with that section behind the goal, and that's probably what we'll end up doing. We'll sell the. I'm pointing to that side of the ground. So looking from the Cheadle end, that end there. So the last two blocks of the railway and the first block of covered, most teams in that division will fill that.
Yeah.
And then the section in the middle will be with a flag on it or whatever, the webbing. And then obviously we can still have the first two blocks for home fans.
But what amenities would you have on that side? Because that's talking about like the main stand. The main stand side of the railway end, if that was for us.
You'd have to let them come through, wouldn't you, to the toilets in the main stand, and then that's just, it's manic, isn't it? So I don't think we can do it. I just don't think we can do it.
That's a good shout,
So I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, there's somebody higher up than us looking at that.
Yeah, there must be,
If you'd like to think that we would fill it, because we did fill it a few times, so you'd like to think we would fill it. But there's going to be games where we're not. You know what I mean? So that's something that maybe you didn't address it, because they're really looking at the best plan going forward. And obviously, see how many season tickets we sell.
Yeah. So we just broke the 2,000 barrier, haven't we? But there's another. I mean, people get paid this week, today, whatever, and then we've got till the end of the month, haven't we? So I fully expect that to go above the. I expect it to go above the 5,500 we got last season. I guess. Do you lads as well?
Yeah, you'd like to. Yeah, I think probably 6. I think. Probably.
Didn't they put a limit on it though?
Oh, they have to. I think they have to, don't they?
Yeah, they put a limit on it, because wasn't it 5,500 was the limit last year for season tickets?
I think you're probably right.
Right.
Somewhere along them lines, I'm sure there was a limit on them.
But let's be honest, we just want to see the railway end full of blue and white, don't we? It'd be great if it is, and then we'll just have to suffer the away. If there's a lot of tit for tat, then we just got to suffer it like we did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
can't be cake and eat it.
No, you can't. But you think about a lot of as you said, a lot of those away ends, a lot of the stadiums are sort of 20, 30,000. So that's a minimum of 2,000 fans.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be like it was last year, especially towards the end. Where you just can't get in. It's just it's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So if we cover it, if we cover Ridgely Park next, then so he said, he stated the obvious, really, that COVID gave us a good opportunity. Although it was a bad time to buy a football club, it gave him a good opportunity to look at the infrastructure, update it while there was nobody in the ground. And you never get that opportunity under normal circumstances, do you? When there's nobody in the ground and you can do all those repairs. So they used that. It was quite nice, and I think we knew it anyway. Edgeley Park, we're not going anywhere, which is good.
Yeah.
Lovely to hear that, even though I guess we do know it. And he wants to create a cauldron in Edgeley Park, so that was quite nice as well. So, and he did mention about the phase 1 started, hasn't it? I think with the Bagara stand.
Yeah. Well, the roofs are a problem.
He did say that. Yeah.
They've always been a problem. They were a problem when I was there, and that's 12 years ago. So it's a big. They can't do a bit of it. We've got to take it all down. That's the problem, because of the dust and stuff like that. So once they start that, they have to finish it. It's not one of them where they can just patch it. You've got to do it all in one go.
Yeah.
And that'll happen in a close season. That can't happen when it's a live ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hasn't it started now? I've seen building work outside. I don't know if it's. Is it started?
I don't know. Is that not Dave's house across the way? I don't know. I've not been down, so I don't know. It'd be. Tell you what, though, if they are doing it now, they've got to get a shift on.
Well, yeah, yeah. And maybe. I mean, I've seen it. So maybe I'm wrong. Actually, we're going to Edgeley Park tomorrow for something as well, so we can have a bit of a mooch and take some pictures. So that'll be good. So that's Edgeley Park. On to sustainability. I mean, well, before we move off Edgeley Park, I just wanted to get your view on this, Phil. It's been said, and Mark mentioned it as well, that 18,000 seater stadium seems about the right size. Would you go along with that if we get the right growth with it?
Yeah, because you've got to allow. Then he's obviously allowing for probably 3,000 away fans, isn't he? You know, and if we're getting a regular 9, 10, we're getting 9 at the moment, aren't we? Ish.
Yeah. Well, so, averaging 9, aren't we? Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good growth plan because, you know, in 3 years' time, you know, we're going to have another load of young uns coming through again that have bringing the mates from school and stuff like that. So, and I've no doubt whatsoever that we're going to continue the school projects with tickets, and I know that there's a few individual groups doing ticket options, you know, bringing people into the ground. So, yeah, I think it's a good number because it's sustainable, isn't it? It's like we don't want to be thinking like Darlington did back in the day. We'll have a 35,000 seater and there's 6 people in it. So what they've done is they've put the plans on hold, didn't they? And there was a bit of a shock when they said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that just yet." After telling us that we're going to do it, and then they've gone, "Oh, hang on, let's just have another look at it." And we've had another season and a half, and they've gone, "This is great. We're getting 9, 10 of our own fans, 10,000 of our own fans every week." Now, there's going to be a bump in the road somewhere on the pitch. You know, if we finish top half next year, I'll be happy. If we finish, and I know, you know, Mark stopped saying, "I'm telling them they're going to finish top 6." You know, and great for him to do that because he's not doing it like a big hurrah. He's actually being very, you know, he's explained why he wants it to happen, and you know, so, and it's good to hear that Charlie and Mr. Wilson are actually bumping up against him and going, you know, this is the season that we've gained this season, so we can use this season to. But he's like, yeah, I get that, but we're still going to finish top 6. So the players that are coming in are going to be top 6 players at least. Going to be at least top 6 players. So that's going to put bums on seats. And if that top 6, if those players gel like we did this year, I mean, you know, everybody's got every club you listen to has got an horrendous injury. You know, nobody's had one like us. Nobody. Fact. And yet we still won the league. So if we carry on and we get another load of players in, then there's no reason why we can't finish top 6. And that'll, then we're talking about building the ground. We'll need that.
Yeah, it's whether or not if because he's saying obviously changing the model around for the recruitment, isn't he? So we needed a plan to get us out of National League and to be in League 2, but now this is where it starts. You start making money from players and you start creating that legacy and stuff. And as you say, I don't know whether or not it'd be directly signing. I mean, some of them will be, I think, as you say, top 6, but I think some of them are the players to develop that will get us top 6. So maybe they're not quite ready next season, and that'll give us like our top 10 finish. But then the season after is when we're pushing on, and that's when we get really seriously. We're pushing for promotion to get into the Championship from the season after. I think that's, looking at the way that he was talking, that was my impression of it, with the sort of like the transfers and stuff that they'll be looking at.
Yeah, well, we will come on to transfers soon, and we will talk about Simon Wilson, and we will talk about footy education, the training ground, the academy. Got notes for all of that, but I just want to do it in some sort of order. People are chomping at the bit to get onto Louis Barry, so we will get to that at some point. But I just wanted to follow on from what you both were saying there. So what he did say was we're in a bit of a sweet spot now. He said we're ahead of the curve, I think, which is probably right. We've sort of got there. We've got 3 years to get to the Championship. Player wise and infrastructure needs focus for the next part of the journey. His words, not mine. I like to call it a project. for those out there that like to do that. No, I don't. I'm only joking. He did say we have to go younger in players, or go for younger players, and we're at a tipping point now for the club as we enter into League One. Revenues approaching 10 million, and just sort of playing into what you lads were just saying then. It's kind of like if we can spin it up and finish top half, that's a really good return on a season in League One, isn't it? After the progress we've made so far.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's just I agree that we're going to have a mix of players, but we've already got some young players that will bring us money in, and he mentioned a player that's going to be in the first team in a couple of years' time. So that's the best thing about getting back in a football league. We've been able to do that. We've been able to bring these. I mean, Ethan Pye, we nicked off Rochdale, didn't we? They didn't deem him good enough, and so we've now got that academy system in place where we're attracting the right sort of players. That if we've got another Ethan Pye gets in the team next year, happy days.
Yeah.
That's already bearing fruit, isn't it? And I don't think it's really got started yet, the academy.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No.
So he came through, was it a player development program, I think they called it, where they were already with another club and we weren't quite ready to have an academy, but we did want these players. And obviously we got Ethan Pye, and he won't be on his own. There'll be others around that, that may be a little bit behind him. But as I say, he played probably a lot, I don't know, maybe 30% more games than anybody expected him to last year. And he became, we needed him. When he went out of that team, when he went out of the team towards the end of the season, before that great run at the end, that great run coincided with Ethan Pye coming back in the team.
Yeah.
So, I'm so pleased he got him tied up, because that lad will play in the Premier League. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Right. Rydell as well as the other one for me. Those two are like our. I feel like they're ours. You know what I mean? They could go for 7 figures plus, couldn't not 7 figures plus, but 7 figures. Let's not get carried away. But they could.
Yeah, and Rydell just needs a season without any injuries, doesn't he? Because he just and that's the other thing. The season before, the amount of goals we scored from his set plays, open play, and Macca on the other side. To be fair, you think last year we won the league without the 2 best assisters in the squad. All not all the goals, but a lot of our goals would come from either Macca or Ryan Rydell.
Yeah.
So the fact that I don't know what the situation was with Macca. Is he still on a contract?
Yeah.
All right. So
no, he's out of contract.
No, he's one of them that's in discussion.
Yeah, he's been offered a contract, but he's still in discussion.
So the fact we've got Ryan Rydell fit for next year is like a new player, but he's a new player that we already know, and he's a new player who knows the system, and he's a new player that knows the club. So if he stays fit, relatively fit, as long as he has a good run, he'll be brilliant in League One.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Question here from Rob. Pye will outgrow us one day. Yeah, I expect him to. We just said that. Rydell will outgrow us one day. But I remember Dave Jones when he took over in the 90s, and he said he doesn't mind that because he wants players to be ambitious. If you haven't got an ambitious player, then you haven't got a player that wants to improve themselves. So I've got no issue with Pye outgrowing us, any player outgrowing us. Unless we're Real Madrid, I'm happy for players to outgrow us because we'll get a boatload of money for them. To help us with our sustainability.
Yeah, if you've not got an ambitious player, you've got Paul Simpson's squad.
Let's move on to the academy then, segueing nicely into that. So there was high praise for Rainsy and Damien Allen, which is nice, 2 former players who both came through the ranks as well. We're at Cat 3 status now. A recent audit put us equivalent to a Premier League club when it came to the academy. I think did he sort of mix it there with the training ground? Was that Carrington indoor dome facility? That would get us to the next category, I think, which is what he was saying.
I think he pretty much said that the dome was the only thing lacking from a Premier Division facility.
Yeah,
that's pretty much, because he said they bought some land, hadn't they, to do it?
Yes, which I mean, I got, forget everything on the pitch. I got excited about that. Having Stockport County having a dome where the land's already been. It's like, come on, that's just like quality, that, isn't it?
And as Ian Dowd has just put there, a lot of people are saying it's got to be called the Vita Dome.
It's got to be called the Vita Dome. Yeah. Could you imagine in your wildest dreams County having a training dome?
A dome.
Training dome.
Would never have thought about it. I'm too old to think about domes. I see Waggy's got one.
What, on top of his head?
Yeah. No, I think the fact that we are looking to find a training facility in Stockport is just that's what we need to be doing. Hello.
Yeah.
For me, the fact that he's talking about, yes, we're still a tenant. The fact that he's letting us know that he knows that isn't ours. It's great, but it's not ours. He wants to have his own. And I just think that, we've had chairmen in the past and we've had managers in the past, and they've all come out and said, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and he's done it. He's actually doing it.
Yeah.
I'm of the age where we had board members and chairmen who were doing the best just to keep the club alive. They were giving up their own businesses and losing money on their own businesses just to keep a club alive.
Yeah.
So that's how far we've come in my time. That, and I know obviously we had the dark days, didn't we, Russ?
We did have the dark days, yes.
We're not talking about them.
No,
but,
podcast is still available though if you want to go and listen to it.
But now we've got a chairman who's got the luxury of being nearly as rich as God. So, if he says that, and I believe him. I didn't at first. I've got to be honest. I was always a bit skeptical about, these bloody foreigners coming in taking our jobs. No, but you know what I mean. Just, but so I've always been a little bit not sure, and there is still a little bit of me thinks it's too good to be true. But on face value, what he said he was going to do is already surpassed that. We're already ahead of where he said we'd be. Now, whether that's a combination of superb management, and I mean above and below the football, whether it's been a bit of luck, whether, it doesn't matter, because what he said we were going to do, we're well on the way to doing, and we're ahead of where we're supposed to be. So how can you find fault with that?
Yeah. Totally agree. And the vision's just great, isn't it? Talk about the Carrington training ground. They've just signed a new lease and they're investing in Carrington, but still looking for somewhere in the borough. And I thought that was amazing as well, that he's investing in Carrington. I don't know, because it feels a bit like doing up a rented house or a flat, knowing that you're going to leave it one day and lose all that money.
Yeah, but you got to live in it, haven't you?
You've got to live in it, yeah, and you've got to produce players in it that can win football matches as well, haven't you? So
they're developing it to take the scholars up there, aren't they? So they can watch the first team.
When you listen to players that have joined us, the first thing they say is they were knocked out by the training facility. Yeah. So it's an means to an end. It might not be ours, but it's ours for the time being. And I spoke to Louis Barry's dad. Look at that, throwing him in the conversation. And when he was out injured and was talking to him in the barn, he was saying that, it's amazing for the level of football you're at. He said, we've been to a lot of decent places and this is up there with them. So I don't know whether it's as good as Barcelona's, but, he just said that it tells young players, was he called Rico Richards, when he came along and he didn't feel any different. He didn't feel like he'd gone to a lower division training facility. But there was no dome, though, apparently.
Yeah, disappointment, that, innit? No dome.
We want our dome.
We want a dome. Listen, that's the podcast title right there, isn't it? Yeah, and he did say I'll let you lads talk about it. He worked well with the new owners of Sale Sharks, and I like the way you referred to not the old owners,
Not
the new owners, which was another tick in the box, and Man City, because Man City own Carrington apparently. So that was pretty good. And then obviously long-term owner training facility in the borough, including a capacity for 1,000 football education boys and girls players. And he thinks that will leave a legacy for 50, 100 years. It's hard to argue, isn't it? If you build all that, build it and they will come. I mean, they're impressive numbers, aren't they?
That's a good phrase, that. That's a good phrase. Where have you got that from? That's good.
I don't know where I got that from. No, was it Monty Python? I seem to remember. I don't know. I can't remember.
Field of Dreams, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Monty Python, Kevin Costner, same person, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of an overlap. As you say, you just that is he wants to leave a legacy, doesn't he? You know, you're sort of talking about being a bit wary of what he wants and where it's going to end, type of thing. But
didn't he say his lads just joined up?
Yeah, his lads in the under 14.
Yeah.
So there you go. No, so he's built a football club. So he's 14. No, he hasn't.
So he's
Sorry if you're watching, Mark. It was just a joke. No, but for me, that's another thing, isn't it? You know, like it wasn't so long ago we had Rooney's kid nicked off us because we didn't have the facility to keep him, and now he's so far up United's rankings. As you know, he was our kid. He nicked us, but we couldn't keep him.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is we're making sure that doesn't happen again. So all these kids coming through now, you're looking, another Adam Lafondre, another Paul Turnbull, another James Vincent, another Damien Allen, Rainsy. These players who went on and had fantastic careers that came to us and nobody could nick them because we were doing okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at again. All right, Foden's a different thing, but like the likes of Kobe Manu, he's going to be another one that born and brought up in Stockport, played for Cheadle and Gatley. All right, it's just a bit too late for us, that. But they're there. Those two people are at two of the biggest clubs in the country, in the world, and they're both born here. But for circumstance, that we're a little bit too behind that. But we need the next two. We need the next Phil. We need the next Kobe, because they're born in Stockport. They should want to play for Stockport. That's and while we were non-league, and that was never going to happen. So now we're climbing back up the table. The young'uns in the town, and I'm saying today, I drive Dave home after the game, and the amount of kids you see out in Marple and Glossop and that with the county shirts on, it's fantastic. I've never seen that. Even in our championship days, I don't remember seeing kids walking around Glossop and Marple with county shirts on.
No. It's almost like it's cool to do it now, isn't it? And they look like
touched on that
kids,
as well.
Yeah. What he did say as well, and again, just going, it stitches into what you just said, Phil. So his approach is sweeping up the Cat 1 Academy exits. So you've got the richest club and the biggest club on our doorstep. They have a Cat 1. Any players that we'll just sweep all them up like a Hoover, hopefully, because we'll have the facilities to do that. Keep them and almost like, it sounds awful to say, but breed the best of them, and then we can have them, can't we?
Yeah, and going on about saying about the under 14s, a Cat 3 under 14s team that we've got, we're beating pretty much every Cat 3 under 14s team, playing Cat 1 teams, Cat 2 teams, and beating a lot of them or coming close to them, and to the point of there was loads and loads of scouts watching every one of our academy games or under 14s games and stuff like that to try and start poaching. So that's really good that in the 2 years or 2.5 years that we've had the academy, is that we've got that standard there already.
Yeah. And then was he called Richie Bennett, the lad from United? Played one game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard him talk when he the reason he stayed, even though he wasn't getting any football, was because he thought it was such a great part of his development, training alongside the likes of Fraser. And he actually mentioned Bernie as well. I know Bernie's gone now, but he was saying that even though he's at the biggest club in the world or whatever, he felt that he was developing better and more as a player and more as a person, being at Edgeley Park and training with our players than he was doing when he was playing. I don't know whether it's still development or the reserve. It's under 21s, aren't they? So if we can get the standard, I mean, I know he didn't really get the chance to show what he's available, but he could have gone back to United. He didn't have to stay with us, but he wanted to stay till the end of the season. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing. That we're getting players. I mean, it's well known that we've not had a good relationship with United for a long time. So the fact that we've rebuilt that is a massive thing. You know, the fact that we've looked after a lad who's maybe only played one game, but he's gone back there and we've had a glowing reference from him because, you know, he's like, it's a great club, and he felt he's improved just by being with our coaching staff and our players. So when we're going to places like Villa and like that to say, can we have one of your kids? All these managers in developments, they all talk to each other, you know. So apart from the academy, we've also got a great infrastructure for other development players, and all that's happened in a relatively very short period of time. Yeah.
And to follow on from that, he said now that we are in League One, it really opens up the loan market. And I think it was alluded to, I don't know who it said a while ago, is that now as well is Simon Wilson with City as well, because he was there for 11 years and stuff. So that opens up because City won't loan players out to anyone below League One, or very, very rarely loan anybody out.
You do know they're not allowed to wear the kits, though. I just think the others. I'm not sure. Is it 22-man squad? Does that include loan players?
I think it
depends
does,
if they're over.
Depends if they're under age. There's an age there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's age, and if they're keepers don't count, do they? And it's only if you're over. Is it 22 or 23? I think it's 23.
There you go. Simon Lomas knows. Does unless they're under 21.
Right. Okay.
Simon Lomas is a bit of an oracle. He did say as well earlier on that it's Reece Bennett, Reece Bennett, not Richie Bennett, because Richie Bennett
Burner's still got another year on his contract.
Yeah. Was he?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Burner.
So, but what was you saying, Phil? Before we,
it's at
the age,
yeah. So we can have a 22-man squad plus loads of under 21s.
Yeah, and goalkeepers. Obviously, they don't count either.
Well, I believe that Haaland's a good keeper. We should get him, and he can play out. You know, we'll have rush keeper. We don't need him.
We don't need him. Before we move on to the existing players' contracts, because he did speak about that, and then Simon Wilson, and then our thoughts for next season aligning with Stotty's football education as well. That's we touched on it earlier, but he did say that he wanted to invest in Stockport to give back to the youngsters. So this is not just the academy players and the professionals. This is the ones that are going through BTECs and other education, but playing football while they're doing it. And
there's loads of Woodley. There's loads of Woodley, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's where the hub is, isn't it? That's where Rainsy is. And he did say that Rainsy and his team have delivered Stotty's vision beyond expectations. So it looks like that's really doing well. And I guess you'll get some of those that will go into the academy, won't they? Because they'll progress. They'll come on, and they could end up going into the academy. And
I get the impression that a lot of the kids that I see in and around Woodley, they're not going to be footballers without being unkind. They're just there because it's part of their. It's a sport education, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm going to be a footballer. It's I'm going to be involved in sport.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a fantastic thing for us to be doing because we've never done anything like that before.
Yeah, he said there was, is it 98? He said that had graduated and half of them had got enough points, UCAS points, to go to university, and one guy actually has been offered a place at Loughborough.
Yeah.
Which I think is that like the FA university or something? Is it something to do with them?
Yeah, no. So he's not the one I see in Greg's every day, then.
No, probably not.
No,
What a grass! What a grass!
Loughborough's a big sporting university, isn't it? That's where Sam Minion went there, didn't he? I think.
Oh, I tell you what, that is some place that I went there. They played when I was running an on-league magazine, and they played Liverpool's under-21s or something like that. In fact, a little-known player, what's he called? Plays for England, half-caste kid, very good apparently. Got a double-barrel name.
Is he supposed to be a right back but wanders into the midfield or something?
That's him. Yeah, he was playing, and I'd like to say that I reckoned he was going to be a great player, but I didn't remember him until I looked at the photograph after the game. But no, it's a great facility, really great facility.
Yeah, and it's great for the town, isn't it? You know, you go to school in Stockport or in sort of the Tameside area, or whatever, and then you've got that facility to carry on your education while you're playing football, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
We're a forward-thinking club, we are.
Yeah. Does it feel weird coming on and being so positive after the Dark Days experience, Bill?
I've always tried to remain positive. You know me, Russ.
I've failed a few times, but always tried.
So I'm scarred. No, it's great. Listen, it's great. You know, I mean, before I went through those dark days, I went through dark days before that, just as a fan. So no, it's a very cyclical football club, this. So don't be resting on your laurels.
No, we won't be.
But I think, as you say, you can tell his business mind behind everything, because he said, you know, and we'll talk about Simon Wilson with his 7-year plan that is basically Simon Wilson's plan. And the only thing that he wanted was to make sure that we had that academy level going all the way, you know, all the ages and stuff going all the way through, and that's what he wanted. But it's also the thing that he said, even when he took over, is we want a championship setup, and you want to have everything in place so that when we get to the championship, we're not chasing our tails and trying to catch up and be that. And everything that he's talked about, when you talk about the academy, you're talking about the education, all that type of stuff. It's everything that you want to have as a championship club to give you that sort of sustainability, as he was talking about.
Yeah, no, you can't, like we keep saying, you can't disagree with what you're saying, can you?
No, it's hard to, isn't it?
Which is rare, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's
just
almost like,
yeah,
it's weird. But you're right. It's almost like, I'm not saying I listen to it trying to find negative things or trying to find things that weren't quite right, because I wasn't. But it was everything was just so good, wasn't it? I was just like beaming from ear to ear. Let's talk about the players, the current players and the current contracts. We'll talk about Hinchliffe, Paddy Madden, Rydell, Pye. I know we've already covered them, haven't we? But he did allude to those. And Louis Barry. So first, Ben Hinchliffe. He said he put his foot down.
I thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Yeah. He put his foot down, but he probably shouldn't have been telling us that.
Yeah.
It's probably, because he did say that's what come across as well, is that not people want to say media trained, but he's excited as he's as excited about it as we are, and things like that. As you say, he just wants to get it out there. Like, I've got to tell somebody. So I'll just do it on a podcast. Well, I'll do it on an interview that's going to be broadcast to every county fan. But that is good when things like that. And it was unfortunate that we couldn't offer Paddy what he wanted, but he had really good things to say about Paddy. I've got a feeling he was coming back as a coach. I think he'll be involved as a coach because he was doing his badges and stuff. But with Ben, I thought that was brilliant. That he should only be getting a 12-month contract because of his age, but because of what he's done and his development of where he's come from to where he is, he's getting a 2-year contract. And I don't care what you say, he's having a 2-year contract. I thought that was really good. And you say he gets it, doesn't it? That's the whole thing came across throughout the whole interview, is he gets it. He gets the whole county philosophy and how we have been and how we should be.
Yeah.
apart from them dark days.
Yeah. He did say, didn't he? He doesn't care. I want Ben to get a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't care. I'm putting my foot down on this one. Everything else is between Simon and Dave. Simon Wilson and Dave Challoner. Sorry, I don't know them by first name, so I won't call them by their first name. Yeah, Paddy, what do you reckon about Paddy, Phil?
Well, I've got to admit, I wasn't overwhelmed when we signed him because he came with this prolific goal scorer tag, and he was literally a 1 in 3. Now that's not prolific by any standard. 1 in 3. He came and he'd had one prolific spell at Yeovil where he was down to 1 in less than 2, which got him his big move to Scunny, and then he pretty much didn't do very well. So the fact that he was a 1 in 3 and we needed an out and out goal scorer, I was a bit like, we needed somebody better. And he leaves us with 2 titles, and he's now in the top 10 goal scorers, but he's still 1 in 3. But what that story doesn't tell is the thing that I hadn't seen, because I've not seen enough of him. The work rate, the leadership, it was just his team play. His first touch for creativity was unreal at times. The goals that we scored off his first touch for other players, not for him. So, I was one of the lucky ones. I was at Halifax when we played behind closed doors because I was covering the game. And that volley he scored off of, I think Halifax battered us, dominated us, and it was 0-0. And they dominated us. They made one mistake at the back in the whole game. And he read that mistake. And he just volleyed it. You'll have seen the goal since.
Yeah.
He just smashed it into the top corner. And I was like, now I get it. Yeah. But that was his second season. That wasn't his first season. That was his second season. Or maybe it might have been his first season. It was at the end of his first season. Yeah, it was. It was towards the end of the season. And then you think, right, okay, maybe I've judged him off his stats, which is what most people go off, his stats.
Yeah.
And, but for me, the fact that I didn't really see him as a good signing because we needed an out-and-out goal scorer, and some might say 65 goals in 3 years is an out-and-out goal scorer. It isn't really. But the amount of assists that he's given and the team, I can't fault him. I just can't fault him. And he goes with my best blessings. And I don't think it would have been right to give him a 2-year deal because he hasn't got 2 years at that level. He hasn't. So would he have stayed for a year? No, because he didn't. So don't be sad because he's gone. Be happy because it happened. You know what I mean? He gave us 3 great years. Yeah. And he'll be a legend forever at this football club. And he only came back because he didn't sign the first time. So
yeah. Was he on trial? Was he on trial back in the day? Was he?
He played. Did he play a game for in 2008? Wasn't it? Was it after Wembley? Wasn't it when we went to Ireland?
Right.
And there was talk of him, and he was supposed to be signing, and he didn't sign. But same as Vardy, we'd have ruined him. Do you know what I mean? If they'd have come when they were supposed to come, we'd have ruined him. So, we got the best out of him. And as I say, the fact that he's now in the top 10 of goal scorers and won 2 titles, and at times carried the club towards the end. I know I keep saying the 1 in 3 thing, but if you look at it, what did he score last 6 games or something like that?
Yeah.
So if Tanto doesn't get injured, he might not have even played all those games. So I don't know. Listen, I'm not belittling what he's done, but I was really sort of sceptical, and he's gone away, and I'm converted. He's a great player. He's a great all-round striker.
Yes.
And a tremendous team player. Team player. And he got us. That was more importantly, he got us. And that's what that to me, when a player comes in and he gets us, then he's 90% there, isn't he?
Yeah. Absolutely. Just got to say, there's been some chat there's been some comments in the chat. I do apologise for any language that was used before that doesn't fit with you. Wasn't meant. Wasn't anything meant by it. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was it was the word half cast. So I think that's old school.
Oh,
It should be
I do
mixed rate.
apologise.
So we apologise for that. Apologise profusely. I do apologise. We've already covered Rydell and Pie. Rydell High. It feels like there's a design idea there somewhere. But yeah, they're going to create. He talks about creating value for the club and in the sustainability part of that. Obviously, they're tied down now, which is really good. And they're the ones that he looks to, that can create value for us. Another one that he said would create value for us, should we sign him, and they're trying, is Louis Barry. Now, what would that mean if we got Louis Barry? That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be. I think, as we go back to before, that's our top six. As you said, you said it. We've both said it many a time. He's a cheat code for League Two. So yeah. And the season that he's had, even with the injury, the season that he's had, the difference he made to our team. We bring him in and we can play like that again with some, really good additions in and around him. Then there's our top six. In my eyes, I think he can really, really push on. And I think a good thing, even though I think there will be championship teams possibly sniffing around him, is that I don't see him playing for Aston Villa's first team. The way that Aston Villa have developed themselves now, they're in the Champions League next year, aren't they? So that's a different caliber of player that you're looking at, isn't it, to bring in to be able to play Champions League and to try and keep yourself in the top 4, top 6. So I don't quite think that Barry is at that level or would be at that level. But I think he's got a really good relationship with us from everything that Stott said, with his dad, with everything that's there. And I don't see why we can't bring him in and have a percentage sell on that would still create value for us and for Villa. So that if he did become a Premier League standard, and then we flog him for 3-4 million, we're still going to make money on him. And we're definitely not going to lose any money on him. And that'll be a real statement signing.
I think that if he does come and we do develop him, we're talking 8 figures. I think 4 million's not enough. I think we're talking 10, because you get teams in the Championship, don't you, selling their players to Premier League teams that are doing well, ready for the Premier League, and they're going for like 15-20 million these days, and that's only going to get more as time goes on. I might be getting ahead of myself here, but a bit. But saying that, I might be getting ahead of myself. But I remember 4 years ago, it was brought to my attention on a previous podcast that I said that if Ben Hinchliffe went full time, he could be our goalkeeper in League Two and possibly League One. So I might be getting ahead of myself, but I don't talk shit all the time.
Your onions. Your onions.
Yeah, what do you think, Phil? Well, Barry, you've spoke to his dad, so you must have the inside track.
Only briefly. Did you go to Wrexham?
Yeah.
So there's your answer. So we took him off at half time. They couldn't get out of their half in the first half.
No, they couldn't. No.
The fact if we'd have been 4-0 up at half time, nobody could have complained. And he was tearing them apart. And I understood why they took him off, but once he went off, the game was finished.
Yeah.
And that's what he gives you, because he's now, he was getting back to his match fitness.
Yeah.
First couple of games, he was a bit like, just getting back into it. But that Wrexham first half, he was unbelievable. And then pretty much, who did we play at home? Was it more Accrington, was it? First half.
Yeah,
and he was
the week before, yeah.
And you think that's what he's got after a bad injury. So I agree with Waggy. He will give us a massive boost. If we get him loan or we buy him, he gives us that top 6 or the opportunity to be top 6. Because he's just different class. My favourite ever footballer at County is Terry Park. nobody has ever excited me since Terry Park until Louis Barry came along. And I've seen some great players in that time. From the 70s to now.
Not even Harpal Singh. He was pretty good on the wing, wasn't he?
Sick, no? No, I mean, there's been players who've got, got me off the edge of the seat. There's been players who, but going to games wanting to watch him play, knowing that the fullback's going to have he's just had it today. You might as well go home, lad. And just, he was exciting. And he's one of those footballers who's not really blessed with pace, but travels faster with the ball than most players do without.
Yeah,
it's an amazing thing to see, and I just think he's so exciting.
Yeah, it always amazes me how he keeps control of the ball, keeps it under at heights that other players can't, and I mean between the shin and the thigh, and he keeps it under control there. Like somehow it's like bobbling about. It's like it's stuck to him down the wing and down to the byline. It's unbelievable sometimes.
Yeah.
We've got a comment in actually from Tim Beard on Facebook. He says, "Remind me, why did we take Barry off at Wrexham?" I was wondering that when you said it because I was like, I don't know why we took him off.
I think because he was coming back from injury, and we had an agreement with Aston Villa. That's the only thing.
We were sending him back uninjured, weren't we? Basically,
yeah.
They trusted us to manage him through the last few games.
Right.
If we'd have sent him back injured,
yeah,
and that doesn't just reverberate at Villa. That reverberates through other clubs that we're trying to borrow players off. So I think we managed it brilliantly. I mean, that's how I read it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he'd given as much as he could give in the first half. I'm not saying he couldn't have done it again in the second half, but that I read it as we were managing his injury. That's how I read it.
Because just before he came back, Challoner was asked, wasn't he, in one of his pre-matches to say whether or not Louis Barry will play, and he went, "That's up to Aston Villa."
Yeah, and I think I think if we'd have needed to win the game, he'd have stayed on. But
possibly,
at the end of the day, we got what we could out of him. And let them have the little victory.
Yeah, it was a friendly, wasn't it?
It was a friendly.
Okay, moving on then. The only sort of topic we've not covered really, maybe two topics, but Mr. Simon Wilson. Now, I'm not going to say Marmite because I think that's a bit unfair. I think he's better than that. But there are rumblings in the fan base of, he's not. They don't like him for things that he maybe has or has not done in the past. I need to be very careful with my words here. But I'll read out what notes I took from it, and then let's discuss and we'll get opinion. He wouldn't. Mark Stott wouldn't have bought the club if it weren't for Simon Wilson. Dave Challoner wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Simon Wilson. Simon Wilson did the 11 years at City and worked at UEFA, so obviously comes with a good pedigree. He's took all those lessons learned as well from the Man City group, including New York, and there's been failures along those paths that he's learned the lessons from. Fans need to understand that everything we're achieving is down to Simon Wilson and Johnny Vaughan. So he added Johnny Vaughan onto that. And the allocation of capital is driven by Simon Wilson as well. And even last season, Simon Wilson and Dave Challoner wanted a top 3 finish, but Mark wanted a number 1, a champions finish. And Simon Wilson wrote the 7-year plan. What do you reckon to all of that? Go on.
I think we've got to take him as at his word, because whatever we think is just our opinion. I'm not convinced by any or all of that. I think there's bits of it will be absolutely true, but there's bits of it is absolute bullshit.
Okay.
Because if you want to really look at his career, he got a sack at Sunderland. He was a failure at Sunderland.
Yeah, he has talked about that, though, hasn't he? About how.
No. So I'm saying he's wrapped it all up, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
So the fact
but
that
he did mention saying that about he'd been at he'd been at clubs that have been promoted, that have won the league and been relegated and accepted. And he did mention he didn't mention them specifically.
Yeah, and listen, he's got to have been doing a good job because he's brought him in, and I don't know how true that is about Challoner, about the fact that Mark wanted somebody else and that Wilson. It was the fans who said Challoner. It was all our fan base was saying, go and get Dave Challoner. It wasn't just Simon Wilson that thought, I'll go and get Dave Challoner. Dave Challoner made it known he wanted to come back. And at the end of the day, he did the deal great. But he's also done some crap deals. He's bought some crap footballers in. So it's a bit sugar-coated for me. I'm not disputing the fact that things have gone really well since Simon Wilson came in, but they haven't always been good decisions. But no business is perfect.
Yeah, no one's going to make perfect decisions every time, is it? So I understand what you're saying.
I don't know him. I don't know whether he's really good at his job or whether he's really bad at his job. What I do know is it was his decision to bring Simon Rusk in. So let's not forget that.
One out of two isn't bad.
Yeah, but then somebody would say, well, if we hadn't brought Simon Rusk in, we wouldn't have got Dave Challoner, would we? But so, at the end of the day, if he's learned from that and now he's working with Charlie and they're working really well together, fantastic.
Yeah.
I just hope it continues. If we carry on working and we keep growing, then I might be wrong about him as well.
Well, there's gonna be bumps in the road, isn't there? And you said it yourself. You can't get every decision right. I tend to look at the bigger picture and give things time. And we've won 2 titles. We've got this academy. We've got all the right people in the right place and all that kind of stuff. So I'm willing to let, as bad as it was at the time with maybe Rusk and Jimbo going. I thought bloody hell, here we go. The proof's in the pudding, isn't it? And we're doing well with Charlie now and everything that's surrounding it. So I'm quite happy.
I thought it was interesting the way you said that, like that Wilson and Challoner are 2 completely separate characters and different personalities and stuff when they're separate, but they both come together and they're both like very sort of forward-thinking, modern footballing brains and stuff, and they work very, very well bouncing off each other and stuff, which I thought was really good comment to say, and hopefully, as you say, long may that continue.
Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah, it is good to hear. Yeah, and then if we're not gonna, they don't grow on trees. These directors of football that have had experience of success and failure, worked at big groups before, and all that kind of stuff. That they just don't grow on trees. So I feel quite happy about having Wilson on board, to be honest. And I know it's not for everybody, but there we go. Okay, time's clicking on. By the way, I've done an hour and 13 already. So what I'm going to do, we're going to finish up on League One next season. Let's get your opinions. Obviously, it's not final because we've got loads of time before we get to League One. But just listening to what Mark Stott said, the budget is top 10 budget. So obviously we're in a bigger pond now. Obviously, we want to be competitive. We mentioned it before, using that loan market now because League One opens up the loan market for us in some of those bigger clubs. Mark Stott's target, he said it should be playoffs. Simon Wilson wants a top 10 finish. We've got to consider that there will be player personnel because that will add to the upheaval. Where do you think? I think you mentioned it before at some point in the show. Where do you think we'll? What's your aim? You said top half, didn't you, Phil?
Me, yeah. Top half, top 10. I'd be happy with top 10 because if you're in and around the top 10, you've always got that chance at the end of the season, haven't you?
Yeah.
I don't ever want. We need a good start. That's what we need. And he mentioned that as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I quite like what he said though, because he said we always have a bad start, which I don't understand. Why do you always have a bad start? And he's right, isn't he? I don't think we do always have a bad start. And I'm sure in the National League North, and we're going back a bit, we won the first 3 matches in one of those seasons. Because I remember saying, but we ended up falling away.
He means in his time, doesn't he? You know?
Yeah. He's
So
probably not looked back beyond that, has he? To be fair.
no. So yeah, top half. And if we can be top half for the majority of the season, top 10 for the majority of the season, then we've got a chance.
Yeah. Waggy, what do you want? Champions?
Yeah, obviously. Nothing less. Nothing less. Charlie out. Wilson out. No, exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's a top 10. Top 10 would be brilliant. Like playing around, as you say, in and around them playoffs would be absolutely superb. But I think it's, and he mentioned again about like, you know, the double bounce. If we went straight up to the championship, I think we'd really struggle. So I think it's we've pushed up, and we've got to, as you've mentioned, we mentioned before, is that we're back to where we were, and this is our level. So now to push on, we want 3-year plan to go that way. So top 10, as I mentioned earlier, is, you know, buy some signings that maybe aren't quite top 6 or championship for next season, but are certainly the potential there to give us that extra boost to take us into the championship. So have a nice boring season, finishing 10th, no jeopardy, nothing, just nice, easy. Have some decent wins, a few losses and stuff, and then the season after is then we can start pushing on once we've got, you know, leveled ourselves out and stuff.
Yeah. No, it sounds good. Yeah, Alex Skinner says a good one as well. Top 10 and a cup run. It'd be nice to have a bit of a cup run, wouldn't it? So in one of the cups.
Yeah, be good. Win the EFL, whatever it's called, JPT.
Yeah, also windscreens, Bristol Motors Trophy, paint.
Pizza Cup.
The under-21s cup.
Yeah.
123s now, aren't they? Sorry.
Yeah. Last one then. County 1883. Finish above our rivals, or are we not fussed? I couldn't give a shit anymore.
I couldn't give a shit. Don't care.
No.
Birmingham are more our rivals than them.
Well, it depends what generation you're from, doesn't it? I suppose.
I just picked a random team. Could have been.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I love it. Right, gents. It's been good.
I still managed to upset somebody, didn't I? I didn't mean it.
Why we don't have you on so much?
I won't mind. I'm mixed race myself, but I've never heard that phrase.
Fair enough.
So there you go.
Right,
I do
Phil.
apologise. Nothing meant by it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We've covered that. We'll be back next week on Wednesday. We're carrying all the way through the summer. Probably there'll be a mixture of people. It won't always be me and Waggy because we need a break as well. But we'll have people on every week. We're going to get some guests on as well, so we're going to sort those out over the summer. And before you know it, it will be July, Pinatar away, and then we'll be getting into friendlies, won't we? Lovely stuff. Any final words before we go, Phil, from yourself?
No, thanks and I'll see you this time next year.
Thanks
for having me back.
No problem. Right, Waggy, cheers, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
And thanks to everybody for listening. Please hit that like button. And if you're listening to us on an audio podcast, please rate and review and leave us some stars and some comments. And that would be lovely. Thank you very much. See you, everybody. Bye now.
Bye now.